Today we're going to make right something that Ford got so wrong with the Focus. We're going to fix the rear wheel stance. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, back with the Focus today, and today we're going to be fixing the wheel offset on the rear of this Focus. This little car has such an awesome rally heritage, right? I mean, Colin McRae used to drive this thing, and it's always bothered me that the road version of this car has the wheels offset so far into the rear guards. You know, this thing should have a nice fat stance, like a rally stance. It's got rally heritage. Whereas for some reason, the road car has this weird inset on the rear wheels. So I wanted to fix that. There's a number of ways you can do that. You could use wheel spacers, but to be honest, I didn't want to do that because they're illegal in most states in Australia and in a lot of places around the world. And I've heard stories about safety with those as well. You know, it's going to be a rotating part, and I didn't want to risk it basically. So I looked into other options. Obviously, you could get rims that are further offset outwards, but I'm quite happy with the rims that came on this car. You know, they're the factory rims and they're 17 inches in size. So I'm going to keep the wheels. So my only other option are hub spacers. Right now, you might have ever heard of this thing, but a hub spacer basically takes the entire hub assembly on the rear wheel and moves it outwards by putting a spacer in between the hub assembly and the rear mounts, right? So it seems to be a really good, safe option on how to move the wheels out on this car. And you know, race teams have done it, Puma Speed have done it, and it's not just the Focus that has this option. You can do it on Pumas and all sorts of fast Fords. So I've decided to go down that route. I've already done one side. So I wanted to get one side done, work out how it's all done before I started recording. You know, it's taken me most of the day to get it right, so definitely don't believe the ad that says it's going to take you an hour to put these on. It's just not. There's a few little tricks that you're going to need to know when you put these on. So I've discovered those. I'm going to show you what those little tricks are. I'm going to get to it because I'll lose the light in a couple of hours. But yeah, if you're thinking about offsetting your wheels, try this trick. I think it's a really good solution. The benefits are that it's supposed to improve your handling. So does it? I don't know, but I think that's why race teams do it. Anyway, let's get to it. Oh, by the way, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content. Okie dokie, for tools you're going to need a wheel jack, a jack stand or two, a grinder, a fat cutting disc, a thin cutting disc, a hub spacer, or it's also known as a rear axle spacer. I chose this product from Moto CNC. I'll leave a link in the description below. If you choose these spacers, the bolts use a hex pattern, so you'll need an 8mm hex socket. You'll need a torque wrench, a blow hammer, a chisel, a couple of flat blade screwdrivers for prying, some Loctite glue, not the permanent red stuff, but the blue stuff, a cordless drill and drill bit, a wrench and extensions, a 13mm spanner and 13mm socket, an 8mm socket, a small wire brush for cleaning, a permanent marker, and gloves, glasses, and ear protection for safety. Time to jack up the vehicle. Okay, with the wheel off, it's time to chock up the front wheel so that the car doesn't roll forward, and then release your handbrake. The first step will be to take the caliper off, the discs off, and also the hub assembly. And with the hub removed, you will be placing a spacer in between the hub and its mounting point, giving you an offset outwards, which will mean that your wheel will also sit further out, fixing our weird inset issue with the rear wheels on this car. Okay, so let's take the caliper off and remove this brake line out of the way so that we can then take the disc off. After that, there will be 4 bolts back here that house the actual hub, so we'll be removing those. And once all that's out of the way, we will be notching this carrier ever so slightly. Now, the reason we need to do that is because the handbrake cable has a mounting point here that would foul on this carrier once we put the spacer in. So we'll just need to notch it ever so slightly. Now, I'm not too worried about the structural integrity of this carrier because as you can see, there are no welding points here. We'll simply be notching it ever so slightly to give us enough space, and it should be fine safety wise. So detach the handbrake cable and remove the two 13mm nuts for the caliper. With the disc removed, you now should be able to see the end of the 4 mounting bolts that hold the hub on. So now that we know where the hub bolts are, let's go ahead and remove the hub. To start with, take an 8mm socket and unscrew the ABS wheel sensor. It's a wire leading into the back of the hub and there's just one 8mm screw holding the sensor in. So take this 8mm bolt out and then pull out the ABS sensor from the hub, and then take a 13mm socket and undo the 4 bolts that hold the hub on. Goodbye 13mm, you served me well. Time to replace you. So these are the 13mm bolts you're taking out. Notice the thread locker on the thread, so make sure you put thread locker on when you put the new bolts back in. Okay, with the hub off, you can see where the 4 bolts were and also the ABS sensor. It goes right here. Check that your wheel bearing is actually okay since you've got it off anyway. Mine is fine, so I'm going to be reusing it. Next, we're going to take the dust shield off, so to do that we'll need to drill out these 2 pop rivets. Now if the heads on the pop rivets start spinning like they have on mine, just take a chisel and go ahead and knock the heads off. So that you can remove the dust cover. Once the cover is off, just take a brush and clean up the mounting area so that you're ready to receive the rear axle spacer. Now just put the bolts in and do a mock fit so you can get a general idea of what you're working with. And the first thing you'll discover is that the bolts that came with your rear axle spacer are a little bit too long. They're actually fouling on the rear hub, so we'll need to trim these down to size. Okay, with one nut done, go ahead and do the other 3 and then back to the car we go. So these are looking a lot better now. As you can see, they're not fouling on the hub anymore. We've got lots of room, so it's time to move on. Go ahead and fit your calipers back onto their mounting bolts and check this area for clearance and mark how much you'll need to take out of the hub mount to be able to put the handbrake cable back on without fouling. Then remove the caliper, the hub, and the spacer out of the way and get ready to cut. Now what you're going to use is a wide cutting disc. It goes without saying that you'll need to go slow here, pay very close attention to what you're cutting, and of course safety first. If you're hungry, if you're tired, if you're in a bad mood, do not use a grinder. Just wait until you're confident that you can tackle this. Check everything twice that it's out of the way and then it's time to get going. So with the notch done, go ahead and spray the bare metal with some paint to protect it from corrosion. The hard part is done, it is now time for assembly. So the first thing to do is to attach the ABS sensor to the back of the hub. Now you're going to want to do this on the floor removing the ABS sensor and its wire from the car for a couple of reasons. One, you don't really want to reach around and try to find where the hole is in the hub for the ABS sensor, and the other reason will become a lot more apparent in a second. If you got these axle spaces especially, you see, the way these spaces have been machined, there's no way you're going to get a socket in between the nut and the spacer. So you're best off doing this with the ABS sensor removed and screwing the bolt in on the floor and applying the spacer afterwards, and then reattaching the whole assembly as one to the car. With the hub assembly back on, go ahead and thread back in the ABS cable into the car. And also, go ahead and put your brake caliper back onto its mounting brackets. So now is the time to check that everything fits. Check that your mounting bolts for the hub are not fouling, check that your ABS sensor is in properly, and check that your handbrake cable is not fouling. Check that the notch that you've ground out is big enough to accommodate the handbrake cable. And if you're happy with everything, go ahead and take your caliper off. It's time for reassembly. Okay, the first thing to do is to torque down the hub bolts, and to do that, first we're going to put a little bit of blue thread locker onto each bolt. So make sure you use the blue stuff here, not the red stuff. The red stuff is permanent. This blue stuff is the way to go. Once you've got each bolt in with thread locker, go ahead and take your torque wrench and torque each bolt down to 66 Newton meters or 49 pound-feet of torque. With that done, congratulations, it's an easy home run from here. Just double check the bolts that they're not protruding out onto the actual hub, which they're not, they're looking good. Have a look at the spacer itself, is everything sitting right? And yep, everything looks really good. So the next thing we're going to do is reattach the disc and the brake caliper. Don't forget to rehook the handbrake cable. Reattach and torque down the caliper retaining bolts. Check one final time that everything is sitting perfectly, and yep, everything looks really good. Get your wheel back on. Drop the car, and you are done.
Alright guys, that's it for today. Hopefully you know, you found that informative. Bit of a process, you know, there's quite a few things to think about when you put these things on. Is it easier than putting wheel spacers on? No, absolutely not. If you want a quick job and you want to offset your wheels, your factory wheels quickly, wheel spacers are the way to go. But I wanted to go down this route because A, they're illegal in Australia, and B, I'm not quite sure that they're 100% safe, whereas I'm told that these are. You know, it makes sense. This isn't going to be a moving part, right? It's literally just spacing out your wheel hubs. So I'm glad I did it, and now that it's done, I'm ready for my next project, which is going to be about lowering this car. So if you want to see a video about that, make sure you let me know by clicking like on this, and you know, the more likes I get, the more I know that you guys want to see the process on, you know, lowering this car. So yeah, really enjoying working on this car. I'm glad I bought it. As most of you know, if you've got one of these, the entry level is very low. They're super affordable, and you know, they're widely available. There's lots of aftermarket parts for them. I mean, it's no Honda Civic, right? I mean, there aren't millions of parts for these, but they sold a lot of them. Chances are you can find what you want, and I'm glad it's not a Honda Civic, to be honest. I'm glad I chose the Focus because it's a little bit different. They handle phenomenally. I mean, you guys will all know that, but for those of you who don't, I mean, it's got a rally heritage, and I'm told that it was initially designed with rallying in mind, so yeah, really good chassis. So I'm having a lot of fun making these videos, and I hope you're enjoying them too. Subscribe, let me know that you're enjoying the content, and you know, that tells me that I should keep making more. So yeah, with that said guys, that's it for today. Hope you like the results and follow along if you need to do this yourself. A couple of little tricky bits here and there with the with notching the hubs, but besides that it's fairly straightforward. You'll need a few things in your tool shed to get them done, but even if you don't want to do them yourself, you know, it's probably a 2 to 3 hour job for, you know, a good mechanic. So there you go. I hope you like this video, and yeah, if you're on the Facebook groups and forums as well, I'll see you on there, and yeah, we'll catch up at the next one. See you later.